Today, I'm going to be talking about my favorite Goosebumps story and how it explores ideas of insecurity and persona.
Viewers beware, you're in for a scare.
Many of you already know Goosebumps, but just for context, it was a series of children's horror stories. The series was so successful that they ended up turning it into multiple TV shows and movies. And the one we're talking about today, which is my personal favorite, is called The Haunted Mask. This story centers around a young girl, Carly Beth, who is a little scaredy cat, okay? This girl's going to Weenie Hut Juniors. A couple little demon children at the school decide to use this against her and pull a lot of pranks on her, such as jump scaring her whenever they can, and even going as far as putting worms in her sandwich. And this bullying is what sets Carly Beth on a spooky path of self-discovery. But as many of us know, oftentimes before introspection, you gotta live some life. So she decides she's gonna get them back. But how will she do this, you may be asking? By getting real spooky with it, just getting absolutely spooked out, spooking them to death.
I shake it spooky 8 day in October.
So Carly Beth goes to a costume shop. This was pre-Amazon. And this costume shop is like a mini Spirit Halloween, except if it was run by like one weird old bald guy. Yes, he's bald. And he's beautiful. During Carly's little shopping trip, she gets devious and goes into a room that is clearly a restricted area. Bald man walks in and he's like, "Hey yo, what the fuck you doing, lady? You are not supposed to be in here." And how does our main character respond? With main character energy, of course. She just throws money at the bald man like she's in the club and then steals the mask and runs away. In response to this, bald man is just like, "Fuck it. That's enough for today, bro." And Carly Beth? She's super excited about the obvious crime she's just committed. So she goes to get her costume ready. Which brings us to a new segment. Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs to Costume Review. Let's start with the mask. Wait, excuse me. The Haunted Mask. The real main character of this story. I mean, it's gorgeous, absolutely terrifying. Green is my favorite color, and boy does it look good on this face. Now, the apparel that goes with it. This is disappointing. It's like scary for all the wrong reasons. Like, I can't tell if she's gonna sell me drugs or traffic me, but this is a drab outfit. It's Halloween and you said, "Let me just borrow some of my dad's clothes." 0 out of 10, sweetie, better look next time. And lastly, the accessories. Look, as far as materials and realism, we could have seen more, but conceptually, 9 out of 10 fire accessory, and we're gonna get into it more a little later. Alright, that's it for Costume Review. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. Alright, so we have a girl who's easily scared, and we have bullies exploiting that fact. And these two things together expose our main character's insecurity. Now, there are many types of insecurity, but it is generally defined as a belief that oneself is not good enough and that they are lacking something they need to be good enough. Our character here, Miss Carly Beth, feels insecure about how easily she is scared by these bullies. And so she runs to the most immediate way to deal with bullies: revenge. And many of you may be thinking, revenge is obviously not the moral or smart way to deal with this situation. Maybe some of you are like me and you can't wait to see those little shits cry themselves to sleep. But the real problem here is not in whether or not Carly Beth claps back. The real problem is in asking an important question. Is Carly Beth being true to herself? When someone is insecure, they tell a story about themselves. X thing about me is bad, so I am bad. But one is not born with this story in their head. It's brought on by external forces, just like the bullies in this movie. Episode, whatever you want to call it. I had it on VHS as a kid. I think it can count as a movie. Anyway, so once they've got this story in their head, then the story that they outwardly tell to other people is to overcompensate for it. And the point here is that both of these stories are not objective reality. The material world doesn't assign them a tag of good enough or not. They just are who they are. And that is the fault in our storytelling brains. Miss Carly Beth, she's not really like critically thinking or acting on much of her own agency. She's letting an emotion control her. An emotion created by two little dumbasses who probably stick their gum in their boogers under their desk. And with all that being briggity broke down in my best estimate and opinion, let's see where this story takes us. Carly Beth now has her costume all made up and goes out for a crazy Halloween night. There do seem to be some wardrobe issues, however. When Carly attempts to remove the mask, it seems to be very difficult. On top of this, as the night goes on, Carly Beth starts to fall deeper and deeper into one of the weirdest crash outs I've ever seen. She starts by being shitty to her friend and then just ditching her. Like, damn, Carly Beth, chill. Then she tries to scare random strangers, including little children, which this is like the most unrealistic part of the story to me because, sorry, but if I was a parent and I saw this little goblin just yelling and screaming at smaller children, I mean, just a little pop. You know what I'm saying? Just a little pop. Anyways, finally, late into the night, she gets to her bullies and she traumatizes them by acting super weird and yelling at them. Apologize to Carly Beth. Say you're sorry. I'm sorry. And then an important scene during this part, after the bullies apologize and run away, pissing their pants, she buries the sculpture of her head that she's been holding, that little costume accessory we talked about earlier. Yeah, she puts it in like a literal grave. Did I mention we're at a graveyard? Yeah, this is like, because spooky, you know? But she does this after the sculpture literally speaks and it goes like, help me, help me. And like, who wouldn't want to get rid of it after that? That's creepy as hell. Debatably more creepy than the mask. And this sculpture moves multiple times throughout the runtime of this show. So at this point, we can safely say that Carly has taken on a new persona because of her insecurity. And this manifests physically as the haunted mask. Persona basically means your outward facing character. I guess sort of like how you communicate yourself to other people. This can be pretty authentic to your inner self, or it can be total bullshit. In Carly Beth's case, she overcompensates for her insecurity of being a little scaredy cat, a little by becoming a monster that freaks people out and scares them. And because of this, she does get revenge on her bullies. However, the character she's playing is not at all true to herself, which causes her authentic self to be in a state of regret, which we can see in Carly Beth's sculpture of her face that she holds on a pike, and which is pretty clearly like a visual representation of her authentic self. And with that being said, let's continue with the end of our story. So Carly Beth runs into her friend again, clearly crashing out, and so her friend is like, why don't we just go home? And I just want to say, everyone needs a friend like this during a crash out. Upon returning home though, they quickly realize that the mask is not coming off. Carly Beth's starting to look at this mask like Norman Osborn.
Coward. You make me sick. Leave me alone.
So she freaks out and runs back to where she found the mask, the old man and Little Spirit Halloween. And this is where we start to get real with it. There's gonna be a lot of exposition that just kind of puts it out there. Basically, Bald Man goes on a whole rant talking about, these masks are real faces. I made them to hide my faults, but the faults were inside me. And he casually drops that like the face she's seeing right now isn't even a real face. It's just a mask. Then he's like, to solve this problem, you must love yourself. Which is basically bro just saying he's great at giving advice and really bad at taking it. Anyways, Carly Beth runs out of there with, mind you, all of the masks in that room now floating and chasing her, chanting, join us, Carly Beth. So she runs to the cemetery trying to figure out what the bald man's words mean. And during her little visit there, she unburies or digs up the sculpture of her face. She then shows it to the floating mask yelling at her and goes, this is me. I am Carly Beth. And that shit works like a charm. The floating masks just run away. But like, to be fair, who wouldn't run from that? It fucking talked earlier, bro. And finally, she can take the mask off.
Mask on, fucking mask on.
Everything is happy and chill now. She's home, she hugs her mom, and then, in true Goosebumps fashion, the story ends on a cliffhanger. It cuts to her little brother wearing the mask, laughing maniacally in the living room, and roll credits. Alright, so as you've seen, everything is pretty crystal clear in this ending, because when she speaks to the ghost saying like, I am Carly Beth, this is me, pointing at the sculpture, she's basically saying, this abstraction or representation of me is what I want to be, not the freaky mask that scares people. Therefore, she overcomes her insecurity by choosing to be happy with her more authentic self. Now, they don't really touch on what happens with her scaredy cat behavior after this, but in the beginning of the second haunted mask, yes, there is a sequel. Carly Beth stands up to her bullies with ease. She learned she could just stand up for herself as herself. She didn't need a mask. But what I'm trying to say with all this and why I made this video is that I love this Goosebumps story. It resonated with me as a kid. It still resonates with me as an adult. I've had plenty of times where I've experienced large doses of insecurity. And believe me, I still have my moments with it. I mean, insecurity is a normal human experience that doesn't just go away because you overcome it one time. But experiencing these feelings, working through them, and learning new stuff about yourself each time, sort of like becoming a more well-rounded person, that message is what's kind of underneath this episode of Goosebumps. And that just stuck with me and influenced the way I think about insecurity. And I guess I just kind of wanted to impart that on more people, if they needed to hear it or if it's just interesting. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you love hammy acting and kids horror, definitely check out Goosebumps and definitely check out The Haunted Mask. Anyways, thank you for watching. And as always, stay sick, stay freaky, and don't toast her Beth. Peace.